We found mice, we found ducks in Thailand. We've seen ducks attacked, but the craziest thing we've ever heard of just happened this week. Also, you know, in the same boat with the same great team of volunteers Charlie took downstream. This is the photo that Michael took of Larry's taimen.
Unbelievable, Mike.
40
great
what?
shot.
44?
Who knows?
Who knows? Huge taimen.
Big one.
On a grasshopper.
Like the real deal.
Evidently, taimen are also interested in...
That's a great shot.
They're also interested in insects.
Unbelievable. Look at that picture. Perfect. Michael, how did you frame it so well?
I'm really good.
You looked over the camera.
You have them all this.
That was a shot from the hip, right?
You're on your way up.
What's that?
Good boating.
Good boating.
Charlie had the boat.
I don't know about that one. I was too confused.
Charlie was sitting there going.
I was too confused at that point.
He didn't wrap the anchor line around his legs.
Did he eventually cut you off?
We did a little bait fishing
operator
today,
now.
David. Ask Evo. He hooked one on Atlantic today. Hooked a time on Atlantic.
On Atlantic? Oh, that's another example. Then you know what they're eating. So for the most of the time, they're probably eating fish. But we know from their stomach pumping, they've eaten mammals, mice. We've seen a muskrat. We've seen ducks. Evidently grasshoppers. Now and then they'll eat insects. But one of the things that they're threatening themselves with is cannibalism. And we've rarely seen this and rarely heard examples. But last fall, we were floating down the
I've seen
river
it 3 times.
October 8th. We remember this because this was a pretty crazy day for us. Very cold. Water temperature was 2 degrees above freezing. Snow, just one of the early snows on the mountains behind it. This is near a site called Mine Shaft down on the big river. And we're floating down and we see 6 giant vultures. These big black Mongolian vultures. And it looks like a person squatting, all lined up by the edge of the river. And we motor over and see this huge body on the side of this huge taimen body in just a few inches of water. The side of this big pool, sort of like it got swept into a whirlpool. And its other side, less photogenic, was ripped to shreds by these vultures. And hanging out of it was this taimen larger than half its size. And the best hypothesis that we have of putting the events together after this happened was that this taimen, 50 plus inch one, ate the taimen that's about a yard thick, couldn't get it all the way down, and wasn't able to open and close its gills enough to the point that it constricted itself. Either that or somehow it damaged its gills, and blood ended up coming down. For us, it was a crazy example of not only what they eat, but we could take that inner ear stone and age it. This fish at 40 years. And the funny thing was, inside the smaller fish was also another fish. And so you definitely see
Atlantic or another taimen?
It looked like it could be either one. It's probably about that big. It's so digested though. All we had was sort of the rotten tail and a good backbone.
Did you do the otolith on the fish that got eaten?
Yep.
How old was that?
That fish was probably 14 years old.
So to go from a yard to 52 inches takes a long time.
Takes a long time.
Dave did just the same study in Canada on northern pike, and they found several that the scientists studied that have done exactly the same thing, swallowed the fish too big, and they've actually died from not being able to breathe. And
Gluttony.
Yeah.
Filling themselves up.
And there was actually several articles in the magazine Scientific Research that, actually suggested the pike will do exactly the same thing, will swallow something way too big that
it can't handle.
Yeah.
Their eyes are much bigger than their throat and than their gills. Well, we did the same. After we saw this, we went back and started reading into it. Found out Russians studying, just working on rivers, sometimes engineers on Russian rivers, have all these interesting reports of what taimen have eaten and killed themselves. One has 40 lemmings in the stomach, so a bunch of little things, but it kept shoving them in. One has 14 squirrels with a dead taimen. One has about 16 grayling. One has a baby dog from the Amur River that a taimen ate. And it's not uncommon for them to overdo it and wash up.
We got to use bigger flies.
Yeah, really.
Or lots of little ones. A whole flock of lemmings out there. outside of our scientific questions, some things we feel important in the project are in getting the locals involved, not only just understanding the science, but employing them. We've probably employed over 15 locals in research over the 3 years and about 5 continually. And then also considering how important fisheries are becoming in Mongolia, there's a number of great operations running, and also we're seeing the fisheries change with development, and there's a need for better protection and management. There are very little resources for people that learn about fish or do research on them. There's 3 fish biologists in the country. One lady's in her 80s and pretty much heading out, and from a very different school of fish biology than much of the world right now. And the 2 younger folks that we work with are a husband and wife couple. And they're pretty much spread thin right now, working on projects throughout the country. So getting more people doing research on taimen and on other fish in Mongolia is something important for us as well. And trying to set up like a laboratory, a fish biology laboratory, and just to get a class going in the city would be a good start. We've done a little bit to help, at least on a field biology scale, by getting students out. We had, in addition to Ganzurik, a few students out this spring. Got them doing snorkeling, teaching them, everything from fly fishing, proper fish handling, and also, how to age fish using the bones, just some basic fish biology. And one thing that really makes this project fun, but also pretty successful when it comes to our movement studies, is the team of people we have out here. These are just pictures of the guys out year-round tracking in the winter. This was our camp 2 years ago in April. They handle the snow pretty well, and it's actually pretty fun. When I came out early once, they take good care of you, and it's actually pretty warm. You dress for the conditions. But that's an example. This is right outside here, just below the camp, just tracking fish, walking down the ice. You do start to get break up, so they'll come March and April have to walk along the side of it. And a lot of people to thank in this project. The funding, mostly comes through the World Bank's branch at the IFC. They got that money from the Global Environment Facility, which does a lot of big global environmental projects. But we've had a little help from National Geographic later, because it's pretty exciting work, so it's easy to get them involved. And then Taimen Conservation Fund and its American counterpart, nonprofit in Montana, the Tributary Fund, are pretty much the operators of the project and continually developing funding opportunities. A number of universities and institutes, which I've mentioned, and a big thanks to Sweetwater, Dan and brothers and Charlie and everyone, and Pooji and Hoop School Travel for getting us started, teaching us about the taimen, getting a boat on the river, and making this project logistically possible working out here. And then that's just a small list of our field assistants, but we've had a lot of people that have made it possible to do work out in the rural of Mongolia. And like I said, the incentive for taimen research, which is the only place in the world right now where it's happening, is because there's a fishery for it. So we thank you guys for visiting Yagor.
So, question for you, Dave. How can we help? How can we raise the awareness, and that probably goes to Dan too. Probably there's a lot of untapped resources that if everybody put their mind together, your clients can tap into of helping out somehow, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've been using the Tributary Fund in Montana as sort of a fundraising vehicle for most of our clients, because it's a 501c3, so they can support the project in a tax-deductible manner. And the money goes to the monastery, it goes to supporting the science team, it goes to supporting the game wardens, it goes to developing the infrastructure as far as judicially or just administratively allowing being able to regulate the river and create defendable concessions that are actually enforceable.
That's fine, but I know where I'm from, we have a circumpolar organization that works around the world. You know, I'm just thinking there's something that maybe I can tap into. Anything like that, maybe of help.
Dave would probably know better about that than
Whether it's tax deductible or not, that's probably, I mean, anybody that comes here probably doesn't need tax deduction that badly. Michael?